Yep. So your parents get there, we're eating pizza, whatever. About an hour into it, maybe like 7:30, I go up to Dad. Hadn't even told him yet. I was like, Dad, I just want you to understand, like, his mom has read the book. They really are into it, and they've had some sightings. Like, they would really like to skywatch tonight. Do you think tonight's a great night? He was like, oh, yeah, big smile. Dad's like, are you kidding me? Yeah, the more the merrier. It's a good crowd, vibes right. And I said, cool, what time do you think they're going to show up?
Like the beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because lately, it's just progressing, and I mean, you saw, like, he just knows when they're there. He knows when they're going to be there. He said 9:30. So it's about 8, something like that, Leah catches the fish. And we're like, whoa, that's weird. Mm-hmm. People aren't just out there catching fish. That was already kind of like a...
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't expecting her to catch anything.
Oh, me either.
I was like, she'll just have a good time casting and just sitting out there on the dock. It'll be cool. Yeah. She caught a fish, and we were like, whoa, okay, cool.
Good
she
for
caught
you,
a fish.
girl.
Awesome. Yeah, and I walked over there. I was going to help her get the fish off the line. And she's like, I just saw something in the woods. Mm-hmm. And Jonah was next to me, and he said, I didn't want to say anything, but I saw something earlier. And so then I was like, okay, all right.
And then Jeremy says, or maybe it was you said, did y'all hear there's a rare planetary alignment this weekend?
It was Jeremy.
I pulled up my phone and I was like, of course, it's tonight. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. We like we said, we had been planning this for a month straight, and the night of, like an hour or two before things started getting crazy, we found out, there is a 5-planet alignment happening tonight.
Yeah.
That felt extremely synchronistic.
So it's about 8:30. Leah catches the fish, and Jonah is her 11-year-old brother, obviously Nick's nephew. Yeah. Sweet little kid. He's just such a sweet little kid. Yeah, he really is.
He's like pure.
He's pure.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Steven.
Yeah,
from Steven, he's kind of like that.
He is. I tell him that.
He's not goofy like that,
right?
But he's pure like that.
I got him into that show, and I was like, dude, you're Steven.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's like just following his sister everywhere and watching her fish, and he's like starting to call out to me. And there's like 20 of us on a 13-acre wooded lot. So there's a crowd of 5 over here, crowd of 6 over here. Dad and Robert are off looking at airplanes. We're just all mixed around, you know. And I like walking to the kids and you, and I'm like, I want to see what they're seeing, So it's about an hour and a half to 9:30, whatever. And I stand there with them, and I didn't see any orbs, because every time I turn around, Leah and Jonah and you are like, there's another one. There's another one. Y'all started seeing flashes in the woods.
We started seeing them frequently.
Yes.
I was like, to be perfectly honest, when they were saying they saw something, in my head I was thinking, probably, they saw someone's light in their yard, or maybe they thought they saw something or whatever. So I was like, let me stand here. I didn't not believe them, but there was a little kernel in my mind that was like, let's see if they're really seeing something. So I went and stood on the dock with them, and I was like, where'd you see it? Leah pointed, she said, over there in the woods. I said, what did it look like? And she said it was like a little like bluish white dot. And it just like zipped by. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty on point. I was like, that sounds pretty accurate. In my head, I'm thinking this. So I was like, all right, let's check it out. Let's see. Within, 15 seconds, Leah, Jonah, and I all saw like a bluish gray. Dude, it wasn't even like an orb, because I won't say like it was quote unquote humanoid, because it was so far away I couldn't see it in that detail. But I can say what I did see went from about 4 to 6 feet off the ground down to the ground. It was like an oblong figure. So like, my first thought was it's like a humanoid.
I ended up seeing that too.
Oh, you did?
Yes. That's
with
what I was
Leah?
Nope, with Jonah. I was going to go there next.
Oh.
So all the excitement was going on. I think Leah was putting the pole away. You drifted off with her. Uh-huh. And me and Jonah were standing there. And little Jonah, man, he was mind blown.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, he was so innocently, I say innocent. I mean, like, he wasn't scared. He was so excited.
Yes.
He was like in shock, but in the good way.
Yeah, to be honest, looking back on it, I'm like, dang, I don't know if that would have been my reaction if I was their age. Like, I might have been scared,
Honestly, that was kind of like our reaction, not Chris Jr.'s. I mean, his experience was different, but like me, I was always like that, like, oh my God, always so positive about it,
Yeah.
never scared, because that's how Dad taught me to be. Don't. There's nothing to be scared of. Don't be scared. So anyway, so you and Leah walk away, and me and Jonah are standing there looking, and Jonah's showing me, and I still hadn't seen what y'all were seeing yet, And Jonah's like, right there, I saw it right there, and then at that moment, he and I both saw a form. Like I didn't see like hands and a head.
Right.
It was like a shadow.
Vague. Yes,
it was
like
vague.
a shadow.
It wasn't like dark black. It was like gray looking.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
we had to have seen the same being.
No doubt. It was like an energy.
Yeah.
It
almost
like,
had a haze about it.
Yes. And it was like probably like 6 foot long.
Wow,
like it was not an orb. It was a form.
See, we haven't discussed this in this detail yet.
We hadn't seen each other since.
Right. That is exactly what we saw.
Yeah.
So it was the same thing.
And it ran across the tree.
Yes, that's literally what it did with us.
Yeah.
And bro, so then, y'all saw that. I'm over there talking to somebody else, telling them like, yo, we just saw some stuff in the woods. I might have been talking, I don't remember who.
I took off.
Might have been talking to Jenny or somebody. I don't remember who I was talking to. And then Jonah comes back over to me and he says, I'm seeing flashing lights over the water.
Oh yeah.
And again, I guess I have a naturally skeptical brain because again, then in my mind I was like, maybe he's just a little excited, maybe whatever. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, bro, he pointed where he saw it, and that's when I saw an orb flash like I've never seen before. I've never seen that. What happened?
Describe it.
Okay.
I didn't see it for the record.
Yeah, well, it was the same thing that was flashing later.
Right, but I wasn't there for this moment. I don't know this part.
So, at first, I saw something flash by the dock above the water, a very, very small flash. My first thought, firefly, obviously, That's, your brain tries to rationalize it. Immediately, I see it flash. I'm like, oh, it's probably a firefly. And then it flashes 2 seconds later in a completely different location. And then I'm like, okay, so I really want to pay attention here. I was very curious in that moment. I wasn't like, I didn't feel my heart racing. I was just like, you know what it was? It was like, I'm obviously having some kind of experience or opportunity or whatever right now. So if that is really happening, I want to be here and be present and witness what is happening.
Right.
And make sure that I understand what's happening here. So I started paying very close attention. I started looking at the water and I was like, I'm going to see another one flash and I'm going to pay very close attention to detail. So very, very quickly, I see another one flash. And then I'm like, okay, I've seen fireflies my entire life. I've seen fireflies. I always have seen them. I know what they look like. They have that greenish yellow hue to them. They kind of, they not slowly, but like they kind of fade in and fade out.
And I also keep going.
And oh yeah, they don't like stop flashing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they may briefly, but
they slowly like keep strobing.
And it's not like an instantaneous flash. It's like a kind of droning almost.
A pulse.
Yeah, that's perfect. Like a pulse, exactly. But I saw another one, and what I could relate it more closely to, it was like a spark of electricity. Mm-hmm. It was like, you get shocked by an outlet in the wall for a split second. You see that little streak of electricity. It was like that.
Wow.
It was like a pop. There was no sound, obviously.
Right.
But I mean, it was like a millisecond. It was barely perceivable. Just so fast. Pop. No sound, but like flash. And then Jonah and Leah are pointing and they're like, look, there. And I mean, at that point, it started happening a lot. It was like, and then after maybe, 30 seconds, we probably saw 6 or 7 flashes. Dude, we would see one by the dock and then we would see one 100 yards away in the woods. Flash.
Less than that.
Oh, yeah.
Realistically, the tree line that we were looking at from that dock is realistically no more than 50 yards away.
Okay, so
it's close.
About 50
it's
yards
very
away
close.
then. And none of them were the color of fireflies. None of them were like that like, greenish yellow. They were like, we saw a blue one. We saw a white one.
We saw yellow ones.
We saw like a reddish orange one. And then it just stopped. It just stopped. Like,
this was still daytime.
Oh, yeah. The sun was still out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun was out, bro.
This was like pre-gaming for Nick. This was y'all's moment. This was a special moment for you three.
I think
I
felt
feel
that way.
It was. Because when y'all started seeing this stuff, I took off. I walked about 50 to 100 yards away. I mean, I don't know the exact distance, but it's a big property. I took off to our this might sound confusing to the listener, but basically my grandmother owns a really big lot somewhere just on the border of Fayetteville with like multiple buildings on it. It's like a pond, and my parents had a tragedy with that original property. They basically had to get out, like an eviction kind of situation. And my grandma was like, well, you can just live on the pond. But beside my parents' cabin, there's also like a recreational building where we have all our family parties. Mm-hmm. You know this, but they don't.
Sure.
It might sound weird if I say go to the kitchen building.
Yeah.
So we had all the pizza and all the food, and we're all hanging out at the kitchen building. So I took off to this building, and I went to tell all the adults, your mom especially, because I really wanted her to see something, and dad and your dad, and I was like, the kids are seeing things. Like, y'all better come on out here. And nobody was in a rush.
Yeah.
Everybody in there, Chris Jr. and Robbie were chilling a lot.
Yeah.
And your dad too. And like, they were all just enjoying meeting each other for the first time so much that they were like, we'll come out there later.
We'll see it.
So this was like Nick, Leah, and Jonah were having a crazy awakening experience over there on the water, and no one else was nearby.
Yeah, dude.
Honestly.
It was honestly wild because it felt like we kept trying to get people's attention. Like,
Yeah.
are y'all seeing
I
this?
was running like, come on.
And everybody's just like having their own conversations. It's just me, Leah, and Jonah like shocked. We're seeing freaking humanoid gray figures running in the woods and pops of electricity, all different colors flashing over the water. We're like, what is going on? I mean, we were mind blown. And then, dude, that like supercharged the kids.
Oh yeah,
They
dude,
were
Jonah's
like,
eyes, you could see it in his eyes, man. He was like, he was like just activated,
yeah.
you know?
So your dad and my parents and everybody, they come over and we start telling them what happened. And Jonah runs up to your dad and he's telling him, I saw this. And then your dad, like very calmly, he's like, you kids are magnets for these beings. They want to appear before you because you're pure of spirit. They want to appear. You're like little magnets for it. And he said your focus and your attention makes them appear. Mm-hmm. He said just focus on a point. Focus where you want to see them. And he said, and you might see them.
And then immediately Jonah turned around, boom, he saw one.
Pointed.
Like instantly.
Yeah. He literally just like thought about what Chris said and then looked out at the water and pointed and boom.
Dude, I'm saying it was like
flash.
Dad finished the sentence and Jonah went, boom, and there it was.
Yeah.
It was like seamless.
It flashed where he pointed.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I knew for sure, because I had a brief moment where I was like, oh man, I hope those aren't the only things we see tonight.
Oh, no.
And when Jonah pointed and another one flashed, I was like, dude, he like freaked out. He was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, dude.
His world was rocked.
It's about to get crazy.
I love that, man. He's such an adorable kid. He showed up with his little podcast shirt.
Yeah.
He had it was oversized.
Yeah.
Like
he had it tucked in.
That was awesome. And it wasn't even 9 o'clock yet.
Yeah.
So about 9 o'clock, finally, we start rounding everybody up. And your parents were ready now. It's getting dark. They were like, okay, let's go skywatch. So everybody's around. And my dad has all these lawn chairs. Your parents apparently brought lawn chairs.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't recognize them, so I guess they were theirs. And we're sitting there, and like, I think Jennifer, my wife, and Casey, Nick's wife, and Jeremy, and I believe Emily and Leah and Jonah were off to the side talking and catching up. Mm-hmm. And it was like me, Jack, I think at some point you, your parents and my parents. We were sitting there like ready to skywatch. 9 o'clock. We're ready. We're trying.
Yeah.
Dad said 9:30. 9 o'clock, let's go. So for 30 minutes, and that might not sound like a long time,
but when you're just staring into the sky,
a crowd of like 20 people.
Yeah.
Oh, at this point, Robbie had left.
Yeah.
Nick's older brother, he had left a while ago, and his wife went with him. But otherwise, the rest of us were still there. I forgot your sister too. Your sister was sitting down. She was like, I don't know how I left her out of that. She was watching.
Well, no, she wasn't there.
Oh, that's right.
Remember, she left and went to. I think she went to
dinner
meet
down
some
the
friends.
street.
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
No, she
yeah,
left.
yeah.
And
she bounced out.
She came back after. She came back probably around 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So we're sitting there watching, and 30 minutes is a long time when you're staring at the dark, black night of the sky with stars, and you're waiting to see something, and you're not yet.
Yeah.
It goes on, and I was just like, all right, I'm checking my clock every 2 minutes. 9:30. About 9:15 or so, eventually I stand up, and I walk over to the other crowd, and I'm like, y'all, let's try to skywatch. Like, let's get our mind on this. And about 9:30, after everybody just talking and hanging out and only a few of us really looking, Dad said out loud, and he got it on video, I think. Dad said out loud, he said, y'all, if we quit the football chat and if we all focus our minds together, just like it says in the Bible, where 3 or more are gathered, I will be there. And then, boom, immediately the first flash happened in the sky.
He didn't even finish his sentence.
He didn't get to. He never did.
Mm-mm.
And I looked at my phone. It was 9:31.
Yeah, 9:31. And I think you immediately said, what time did you say they would appear, Dad? 9:30.
Yeah, and your mom, so I went up to your mom at like 7 o'clock or 7:30 or something, and I said, just so you know, 9:30, sky watching. You think you can hang around that long? She's like, yeah. So she heard it too. And 9:31, boom. And then it's like, I don't even know how to describe the rest. if you would want to try.
Yeah, so for basically like from 9:30 to probably 10:15 or 10:30, it was like non-stop, constant light show.
Oh, yeah.
It was like
all around us.
It was a spectacle. And we're seeing them in like different forms. And I'm not talking about like, oh, one of them walked up to me and said hello. No,
it's not like that.
It's not like that.
It is for Dad sometimes.
You're seeing inexplicable lights doing things they don't normally do. So I'll describe some of the things that we saw. So, for instance, the first one we saw was way up in the sky. It was way up in the sky.
Yeah.
And it was moving, and it kind of looked like a plane. Some people were asking for a minute, like, is that a plane? Or whatever. And then literally when someone asked that, we started seeing a plane fly by.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, that's a plane.
Yeah.
It was so much closer. It's blinking. It had multiple lights. It was like obvious, like, yeah, that's a plane. And then look up. That's not a plane. That's a weird light that's moving across the sky. And then I remember, I don't know who said it, but somebody said, like, could it be a satellite? And that's when it started, like, bobbing. You remember that? And that's when my dad started freaking out. Dad started going, oh, whoa. He's like, I've never seen anything move like that. It changed
directions.
Yes, it was changing directions. It started bobbing and hanging in the sky. It would, like, change speeds. And, like, everyone was captivated, like, seeing this, like, move strangely in the sky. And then while that's happening, another group of people are like I remember Jonah at one point, he was like, we should all focus on this tree. Mm-hmm. He was like, everybody should focus on this tree. And then Emily came over and she was like, that's a great idea, Jonah. She's like, everybody focus on the tree. And within 60 seconds, we started seeing boop, 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 all over the tree, from like the bottom of the branches to the top of the branches, like to above the tree. Different colored lights flashing milliseconds.
Sometimes two at a time.
Yeah. And then it was like flashing here. Oh, turn around. They're flashing over there. So we start seeing the ones flashing by the tree. And I was like, whoa, that's so crazy. And right next to that tree, there's some, I don't know if they're like clothes hanging lines.
Yeah, they're not power lines.
Okay.
They're like clothes hanging lines.
There are a couple of clothes hanging lines. And I started
just over our head.
Yeah, I started seeing like blue-white flashes over there. Like spark, spark, spark.
And this is only like 20 feet away from us, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Like from where we're sitting.
So that was the closest I had ever seen up to that point.
Yes.
And I'm looking at that, and then I start hearing everybody behind me yelling, Nick, there's one right in front of you. There's one right in front of you. It's flashing right in front of you. And I was like, I turned around to look at them, and when I turned back, I'm like looking sort of towards the ground. About 4 feet off the ground, no further than arm's length from me, it flashed right in front of my eyes.
Now, you didn't see this. And there was so much hysteria in the moment. Everybody, for the rest of the night, everybody's, wow!
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard to really get in a word and everybody hear it.
Yeah.
You know, and in that moment, I saw this. When that flashed like just 3 feet in front of you, simultaneously, one flash behind you.
Really?
Yes. I was saying it all night, but I think there was so much going on you weren't catching what I was saying.
Yeah.
I was like, one just flashed behind you.
At the same time?
Yes.
No.
There were two. One flashed in front of you and behind you. You never saw it.
Whoa,
that's what I'm saying.
Bro. God, I would. That's. I wish I had seen that. But I mean, I don't care. You know, for such a long time now, I've been saying like I want to see him up close. And within the past year specifically, I've been saying it a lot. Mm-hmm. Like I really want to see one up close.
I believe you because I was very impressed because when they started flashing at ground level, you didn't even say anything. You just walked towards them. You just took off.
Oh yeah, because I mean I was genuinely like like I said, my brain was in pure curiosity wonder mode. I wasn't scared. I wasn't freaked out. None of that. Which, like I said, you know, at first I was scared of this stuff. Like
that's why I was impressed
15
because
years ago.
It takes a while to kill. The natural reaction is to, unless you know the story, you know how it works, and you're aware of it. I mean, just seeing this, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, if I had no context for this information and I'm just seeing,
it melts your mind.
Oh, I'd probably be having an existential crisis. Like, what? You know, I don't know.
My brother did.
How did that happen? Like, you know, whatever. But I felt none of that. I was just like, I felt like
you just wanted to be closer.
Well, yeah, I did, but I mean, I felt completely resolute that that was like meant for me. You know, like that flash right in front of my face, I knew it was like beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like that was for me.
Well, definitely because it was behind you too.
Yeah, that is crazy. I didn't know that it flashed in front and behind me.
A little Nick Orb sandwich.
I'll be the jelly in the middle for the orbs.
That makes me hungry. I forgot.